welcome to the FanDuel Punch Out. As you know by now, I'm Big Italy 42 and he is Josh Shepardson at BChad50 on Twitter. And it seems like every night we either get a ton of stud pitching or we get no stud pitching or we get like a couple guys you feel good about but no slam dunk options. And once again, this is one of those nights where there's some guys you want to play, you want some exposure to, but there's no single pitcher that you feel like you have to have tonight. So we'll go ahead and we'll break down what we're thinking here, kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at. You can agree, disagree, whatever it may be. But I think the most popular play tonight, and I think you agree, is going to be Garrett Richards. He's $8,800 against Baltimore. It's a Baltimore team that, you know, they have a ton of power, but they also struggle with striking out. I mean, really against lefties and righties. 22.1% strikeout rate against righties, but a 175 ISO. So there's good and there's bad. There's a lot of inconsistency with this lineup, but there's also quite a bit of upside. And, I mean, Garrett Richards, I mean, he's the same way. He's had some big games. He's had some bad games, but listed at a minus 150 favorite, 7-run total. It'd probably be a different story if this was at Camden Yards, but being at Angel Stadium, I think he's going to be your chalk cash game play.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt his cause that he's coming off of an 11 strikeout performance. That's more strikeouts than his last two games prior to that combined. So finally getting the punch outs. And he has been better at home this year, so I think that's going to probably inflate his ownership some. He is my favorite cash games pick tonight, but we're not talking about one that's bulletproof. There are definitely things that you can pick apart, as you noted. Been a little bit of a roller coaster ride for him this year. The fact that he doesn't have another double-digit strikeout game in any recent starts is kind of indicative of how his ceiling isn't quite what it was last year or hasn't been to date. Maybe that's changing now with the big punch-out game, and he gets another strikeout-prone team, as you noted. Speaking of strikeouts, we were just discussing Steven Strasburg before the show. Big strikeout performance at the AAA level on rehab. And if he's right, I mean, he's your wild card, I think, in GPPs tonight. It's extremes with Strasburg. Either he's exiting a start early because he's not healthy, or he's out there and he's shoving. And I mean, it just doesn't feel like there's any in between with him this year at all.
I like that analogy, too, that he's shoving. I like that, because it's terrifying for both ends.
Yeah, and I mean, like, with him, that's an uncomfortable feeling in cash games, but my God, you want to embrace that kind of volatility in GPPs, and we know that the Rockies are bad on the road. They are not a good offense away from field. They're not the same offense that they were when they had Troy Tulowitzki in there. That's a big name to take out. Yeah. And Dickerson's back on the DL. So just not that imposing of a roster. Really like him a lot in GPPs. Not as comfortable with him in cash games, but you know what? They're really, even as much as I like Richards tonight, this isn't your typical slam dunk cash game starter, so I do think you have some viability in taking a chance on Strasburg. The name that neither of us has mentioned, and for good reason, is Tyson Ross. Phillies have been quite hot out of the break. They have some lefties to throw at Ross, which is a problem, and they've got some rabbits once they get on the bases, which we know Ross struggles with base runners and controlling the running game. So I think Ross is going to be fairly popular because people are still going to look at the season-long totals for the Phillies, and they have struggled against righties, but I just don't think this is a good spot for him necessarily.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, and like you said, if we're talking pure talent, like, there's no one that has higher upside than Steven Strasburg, even Richards, because you mentioned that 11 strikeout game, but that was against a Cleveland team that usually doesn't strike out that much, and he hasn't had a start even close to that strikeout-wise, so it's definitely going to be an interesting night. It seems like tonight's the trend of you see these guys that were really good last year and showed big upside. They really don't have it this year. Like Samardzija too, like you said. I mean, he's most expensive pitcher on the board, but you look at what he's done recently. As far as strikeouts go, 3 in each of his last 4 games, and 2 of those were 8 innings. So
yep,
I mean, no ceiling.
You like the innings. Unfortunately, he's facing a team that doesn't strike out much either, and he spun he went 7 innings against the Royals on July 17th, only struck out 3 Royals batters and was worth a whopping 6 fantasy points on FanDuel, and that's just not going to cut it. I do think that he's a moderately interesting GPP play because he does pile up innings, and that certainly has value if you can get the W with it, but the strikeouts just haven't been there. Definitely not a guy that I'm going to rely on in cash games. Looking at another AL Central arm, I do think that Trevor Bauer is an intriguing arm in GPPs.
Yep.
The Twins are not a good offense on the road, despite that monstrous run scoring output last night. That's not the norm for the Twins. They're certainly capable of it. They've got some power hitters in that lineup, but if Bauer's pitches are crisp and he's cooking and he's locked in, we know he's got some strikeout outside. We've seen it this year. He struck out 6 or more batters in 3 straight starts in 4 of his last 5, and he's actually been fairly solid in of late. He's scored more than 33 points in his last 3 starts combined. Does have one clunker in there where he only pitched 4 innings, but overall, I think makes for an interesting GPP name. One more name I'll throw out there. Not that this is a night where you need a lot of salary for bats, but Mike Foltynewicz, the Marlins do have some left-handed bats that they can throw at him, but not exactly the most imposing group of left-handed bats. Guys like Justin Bour and Derek Dietrich can be beaten. And at $5,900, Foltynewicz throws hard. He's got an 8 strikeout performance on his recent resume against Baltimore on July 29th. Big power arsenal. If he can navigate those left-handed bats, can certainly deliver on that $5,900 price tag. And basically with him, you can roster all of your favorite bats, not most of, not some of, all of them. And even if they're not your favorite bats, you could just click the most expensive bat at every position and fit them in there with a $5,900 Foltynewicz. Not that I'm saying that that's what you should do, but it's possible. I mean, you just don't usually have a pitcher that has the kind of situation that we're in today, where where there just isn't that chalky pick where you can roll the dice with a Foltynewicz and not feel like you're missing out on a Kershaw or a Cole or any of these arms that we had last night.
Yeah, and I mean, those left-handed bats you mentioned for Miami, not particularly daunting. I mean, the one guy you maybe are actually worried about is Christian Yelich, but I mean, even he shown some inconsistencies. So I mean, other guys very inconsistent as well. So I'm with you there. I think he's probably the one cheap guy I'll be considering there for tournaments. All right, catcher options tonight. Another one of those situations where you really don't need to spend a lot of money. You've got Victor Martinez, $2,900. Finally got the price bump. Didn't come after his 2 home run game. Came after a 1-for-4 performance. But whatever. Either way, I think his price bump mostly due to the fact that he's facing Wade Miley, and Martinez actually with significant splits between lefties and righties this year. Absolutely destroying left-handed pitching. Hasn't been himself against righties. So this is the spot for him. Maybe he goes a little bit under the radar today just because people are trying to save money to the position and, had a 1-down performance. But I'm not a Wade Miley fan by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm targeting Wade Miley wherever I can. 343 WOBA to righties this year. I'm a big fan of that. I think that'll be one of the higher scoring games tonight. And then Jonathan Lucroy right behind that. We know he kills left-handed pitching. Jaime Garcia has been a fine pitcher this year. Actually, his overall numbers look really good. But I'm not a believer that he's as good of a pitcher as his numbers this year indicate.
No, I agree. And, I mean, Lucroy, it's not a banner year for him by any stretch, but if you're going to use him against a lefty at Miller Park is the situation to do it in. My favorite catching play is actually a nice little value play. Derek Norris at 2,400 against Adam Morgan. Morgan's been bad, like really bad against right-handed batters. So far, he's allowed a 383 WOBA to the 128 that he's faced in his career. So definitely struggling mightily with right-handed batters. Norris has picked it up out of the All-Star break. Got to wonder if maybe he was a little gassed going into the All-Star break because he was slumping hard before that. First-year full-time catcher. He's had been in the platoon in Oakland. So I think there is reason to speculate on that. And gets a soft lefty tonight, and we know Norris, his track record of crushing lefties is pretty extensive at this point.
Yeah, I like that call quite a bit. And then another cheap option here, another guy who's been killing lefties this year. Small sample size, though, James McCann. He's $2,500. You assume that he'll be in the lineup. His numbers against lefties this year, 271 ISO, 437 WOBA. So, like I said, it is a small sample size, only 65 plate appearances, but obviously having some success at near minimum salary against a bad lefty and Wade Miley. Yep. If I'm not going Norris, I think McCann's the guy I'll be going with down cheap.
I think that's a good call.
And we got to throw out Wilson Ramos as well. I mean, he's facing Eddie Butler, and everyone hits Eddie Butler. So you got to consider him as well. All right, first base options. Paul Goldschmidt, his price refuses to rise, $4,000. Obviously last night, much lower scoring game than we anticipated against the Reds, but that price is way too cheap for, I think, probably a definitely a top 5 hitter in all of baseball, maybe even top 3 this season. So Paul Goldschmidt, $4,000. You can easily afford him. He's going to be the guy that I'll be playing in cash games tonight.
Yeah, he's my favorite option at first base. I think there are some other directions you can go. David Ortiz against Alfredo Simon. Simon is absolutely terrible against left-handed batters. I think Ortiz will be fairly popular, and for good reason. I think the interesting way to go in GPPs is actually paying an extra $600 from Goldschmidt and grabbing Chris Davis against Garrett Richards. Obviously, we're not going out of our way to pick on Garrett Richards, but if there's a guy who can do damage against a fastball, that's Chris Davis. And at $4,600 facing the chalk pitcher of the night, you got to figure his ownership's going to be tiny. So if he does reach the seats, it's going to be a very low-owned home run. A couple other names that I'm looking at: Eric Hosmer against Samardzija. Samardzija not missing bats. Hosmer doing work this year against right-handed pitching, so you got to like him. Teammate Kendrys Morales also going to get to hit left-handed against Shark, who has been somewhat giving to left-handed batters in recent seasons, holding them to just a 323 WOBA since 2013. So there's something to be exploited there. And then I know there's a name in Washington that you like a little bit based on the Eddie Butler matchup. Why don't you go ahead and throw them out there too?
Yeah, I mean, I'll throw out anyone who's in the lineup against Eddie Butler, but particularly Ryan Zimmerman should be batting cleanup, maybe 5th. I would assume cleanup once again. He's been solid. I mean, he has RBIs in 5 straight games. One of them he didn't even start, just had the one at bat as a pinch hitter, but $2,600 for him, cleanup hitter against a bad pitcher. If you need to save money because you want to pay up maybe at every other position, I think he's a great way to go. It was fine cash game play last night. I'm sure he'll be fairly popular again for those that want to save money. And then the only other guy I'm really going to mention, and he's been pretty awful outside of last night's home run, Adam LaRoche, absolute min salary. It is Jeremy Guthrie, who I won't say he's necessarily improved against lefties because he hasn't at all. 406 WOBA allowed, 13 home runs this year. You want to get as many left-handed batters against him as you can in all formats. And if you got to do it for cheap, I prefer a lot of these top options, and I'm sure you do too. But I don't think that LaRoche is a terrible option tonight.
No, left-handed bats seem to have their way with Jeremy Guthrie, and you grab them where you can grab them, basically.
Yep, yeah, right about every single time. So moving on here to second base, got to like Brian Dozier. His price continues to drop. If you're not playing Trevor Bauer, Dozier has better splits against lefties, but very similar ISO against righties and lefties. $3,200 is just way too cheap for a middle infielder with the power that he has. Another guy you want to consider is Ben Zobrist. Just been a good hitter consistently in that Kansas City offense. And I think, though, if I'm going to be paying up, I'm just going to go ahead and go with Ian Kinsler if I'm not playing Brian Dozier. I mean, the guy's been very consistent recently. You're not chasing power upside necessarily, but I expect Detroit to do a lot of things tonight. He's been batting 3rd. So when you can get a 3-hitter with guys like Victor Martinez and J.D. Martinez hitting behind you, speedier guys ahead of him, I mean, he should have a lot of opportunities to produce tonight.
Yeah, and he clobbers left-handed pitching, and Wade Miley is a below-average lefty, or at least he's been pitching like it this year. So there's no 5-figure pitcher out there. You're going to have money. Kinsler's a good investment. If you are looking to spend some of that, and you're not, say, for instance, you're using Ryan Zimmerman at first base, you're going to have money left on the table. Might as well go ahead and grab that top option at second base. A couple other names that I like: Brandon Phillips against Robbie Ray. Do some more regression. His ERA estimators basically tell the story there, giving up some hard contact to right-handed batters. So I do like Brandon Phillips a bit. D. Gordon is left-handed, and we know Mike Fultonwood struggles mightily with left-handed batters, so not a bad spot to grab him in. Colton Wong, basically the same boat. Willie Peralta, another pitcher that struggles with left-handed batters in a big way. Wong looks pretty good at Miller Park. Great park factors, gotta like that. And then we'll kind of round out second base the way that we've been rounding out every other position. Pick on Eddie Butler. Anthony Rendon, $3,000. Got a night off last night. Got to expect that he's going to be back in there tonight. He'll have a good lineup spot, probably hitting second. He's been hitting behind Yunel Escobar of late. And, I mean, that means almost the maximum number of plate appearances you can get against Eddie Butler, and we like that a lot.
Yes, we do. And moving on to third base, once again, lefties against Willie Peralta, who is awful against lefties. Matt Carpenter, probably your top cash game play, I'd say, at least for me, at $3,600. Been tremendously consistent recently. Great matchup. If you're not going there, obviously Todd Frazier against the lefty in a hitter's park hasn't been very good really at all since the All-Star break. So, I mean, maybe you want to believe in that narrative of the home run derby. I certainly don't. but he's got a ton of power against the lefty, and you got to like that ballpark. So those are my top two options. Really, if I'm paying down, the one guy that I'm looking at is Derek Dietrich at $2,500. You mentioned lefty struggles for Mike Foldenwitz, and Dietrich has some power there at the hot corner.
Yeah, I think those are probably the top three names at the position for me in terms of price considered as well. One more name I'll throw out there is Miguel Sano against Trevor Bauer. If Bauer misses with location, we know Sano can punish pitches. Ripped a double last night to drive in a run. Also recorded a number of outs, but I mean, you can live with the outs and the strikeouts if Sano is going to continue to rack up extra base hits, and he's got the power to do that. So like him a little bit at $3,000. I think he might go a little bit under-owned because he is priced fairly closely to Frazier and Carpenter, making him a nicer GPP pick than a cash games pick. And but that's a good place to grab him is get that power in the GPPs and hope he finds the seats.
Yeah, that's absolutely what I'm thinking. And then shortstop, you know the drill by now. Ian Desmond had himself another nice game last night. I won't say he's quite turned it around since his slow start, but certainly producing a lot more than he was at the beginning of the season. $3,000 for him. I think if I'm paying up, that's the guy I'll be going with. Xander Bogaerts, Alfredo Simon's actually pretty good against righties, and Bogaerts at that price doesn't possess a lot of upside. Alexi Ramirez is a righty against Guthrie. Guthrie actually pretty good against righties, so no thanks there. So that's the guy I'll probably be paying for more often than not. And then if you got to go down cheap, I mean, once again, you've got men's salary. Alcides Escobar kind of your go-to if you're going to go men's salary.
Yeah, and if you're thinking that Messi, Ubaldo Jimenez can show up, maybe a men's salary Eric Ibar is in play as well. I think this is probably my favorite punt position of the night just because there just is not a ton of upside. Even the top name, as you said, Ian Desmond, $3,000 is not the greatest price point for a guy who hits down order, is having a down year. I do like to play because Eddie Butler, but I mean, the other guys that I'm looking at are Johnny Peralta at Miller Park. Willie Peralta's not super giving to right-handed batters, but Miller Park is, and Johnny Peralta is a well above average hitter against all pitchers, lefties and righties. So Peralta at under $3,000 looks pretty good to me. And then Jose Reyes is an interesting play, I think. If bad Steven Strasburg shows back up off the disabled list, getting the two-hole hitter from the Rockies isn't a bad thing. At a position where, as we're kind of making fairly clear, isn't loaded with upside tonight. There's questions about even your top options, so I don't mind Reyes a little bit, but this is pretty much a punt position for me. I'm going to be looking at lineup cards, seeing where guys slot. Probably going to be using a min salary guy like an Escobar or a Eric Ibar possibly.
Yep, absolutely. And then to move to the outfield, Mike Trout got himself a birthday dong yesterday, had himself a fine game, and he's still just insanely cheap, $4,700. So, I mean, he's easily your top option due to that price. Probably going to be very highly owned, I would assume, in cash games because of that and without expensive pitchers on the mound. So I would not be recommending fading Trout tonight. Another guy, Bryce Harper. Oh, yeah, he's facing Eddie Butler, too. So you might want to get some Bryce Harper. I mean, you can get him and Trout tonight fairly easily in your lineups. So
yep.
I like that quite a bit. And then Melky Cabrera at $4,200, a lefty against Jeremy Guthrie. We mentioned Guthrie is just awful against lefties. Due to his price, you mentioned this earlier, and I agree. I mean, I think he's going to be a low-owned tournament guy. Not a guy I'll be paying up for in cash with Harper and Trout similarly priced, but I think he's a really good tournament swerve.
Yep, and sticking in that same price point, Ryan Braun against the lefty at Miller Park. Yeah, please. I mean, $4,300. It's on a night where the pitching is as cheap as it is. You could conceivably roster Trout, Harper, and Braun and still put together a nice lineup around them, including getting whoever your favorite pitcher is. It doesn't matter who they are. There's no pitchers in the five-figure price range, so really like spending up in the outfield tonight. JD Martinez against the lefty, a bad one. As you said, Tigers should do some damage against him tonight. I'm on board with that. He offers a little bit of salary relief to the top names that we've got. He's under $4,000 at just $3,700. Then we got Jason Hayward at $36, another lefty against Willie Peralta at Miller Park like that. Lorenzo Cain, don't love the matchup in a righty-righty, but Cain's been hitting lefties and righties alike this year. Power speed combination, not a guy that I'm going to pay for in cash games because I think you can get a little bit more bang for your buck, but his upside is really appealing in GPPs, and especially for Royals, hitting in the heart of a Royals lineup that can really do damage based on the fact that they can put the ball in play against everyone. So I do like Cain there. Looking in the cheaper price range. I'm looking at guys like Marlon Byrd against Robbie Ray at 28, Christian Yelich at 2,900 against Mike Fultonwitz. Those are the cheap-ish names, but I'm probably not going to be dipping too cheap. If Clint Robinson's in the lineup, you get a lefty against Eddie Butler. I feel like it's obligatory to mention that. You almost have to consider him, especially if he hits in a favorable lineup spot. We've seen him hit fifth at times this year, so depending on where he's hitting in the lineup, depending on if he's in the lineup at all, gotta like him a little bit. And then I know there's a couple outfielders in San Diego that you like a little bit.
Yeah, one guy who's been it seems like he's been a disappointment, but his overall numbers actually aren't bad this season. Coming off a really nice game last night, gets another terrible pitcher today, and Adam Morgan. We know he crushes lefties throughout his career. Justin Upton, 2 for 4 last night with a triple, 2 RBIs, a stolen base, a walk, a run scored. Those are the kind of numbers we were expecting out of Upton earlier this season at $2,800. I think he's going to be a lock for me in my cash games. I mean, I'm going to try to get myself a Trout, Harper, Upton outfield, which has insane upside, and I mean you can easily do that tonight. So he's probably my favorite sub 3K guy aside from the guys you mentioned. I'm a big fan of Yelich there as well around that price. A few more guys. Avisel Garcia is a righty against Guthrie. We don't necessarily want to target him with righties, but Garcia's the guy who's been hitting the ball really well recently for 2,700. So I think he's an interesting option. And then a guy that we had just stumbled upon, you mentioned, he's Klay Thompson's brother. Came in last night when Adam Eaton ended up leaving the game. If he ends up getting the start, Trace Thompson at $3,000. You mentioned he's got some power and some speed, some strikeout issues, but $3,000, that's a nice option maybe for you in some tournaments against Jeremy Guthrie.
One who should be loaned if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And much like you, I'm not really paying really deep down cheap. I do like Billy Hamilton at $2,700 against a bad pitcher in Robbie Ray. I won't say bad, an average pitcher, because if he does get on, you expect he's going to steal some bases. And I mean, that should be a fairly high-scoring game tonight. So I think he'll be a big upside guy at that price that you really don't need to hit a home run. You know, you're not going to chase a home run with a guy like that, but certainly he could steal 2, 3, 4 bases in a hurry if that game gets out of hand.
And with that lineup wrapping around behind him, I mean, he hits in the 9 hole. You're going to get your best Reds bats coming up behind him, so if he does get on, not only do you have the stolen base upside, but the likelihood of him scoring a run is fairly good with guys like Brandon Phillips and Joey Votto, Todd Frazier coming up almost immediately after him. Yeah,
that's a good call. And then we got to mention Brandon Moss as well at $2,300, lefty against Peralta. I think he's in play as well.
Yep.
All right, that's going to wrap things up. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out all of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.